Well, hey everybody. I am Fran Lehman back here with Marnie Van Wyk, and this is kind of the second video we have done in this little series. We're going to do, I don't know, a whole bunch of these. And what we thought we would do today is just kind of tell some of the story of how New Life for Haiti started, because it is a pretty amazing story, or maybe better put, a pretty amazing set of stories. And so we thought we would just kind of, some of you have been around, you've been a part of New Life for Haiti a long time. Maybe others kind of joined being donors to New Life for Haiti or participating in some way in recent years, but we thought, let's go back and let's kind of tell the stories and drink in the stories at this point. So
I'm one of those people that's been around New Life for Haiti for a long time, but not since the very, very beginning. So it would be great for you to talk a little bit about how New Life for Haiti had its start.
Yeah. Well, of course, in the beginning, there was not a vision for something like what New Life for Haiti became. Going back probably 25 plus years ago, really all the way back. Yeah, maybe longer than that. A pastor that Linda and I knew in the group of churches we were a part of invited us to go to Haiti because that group of churches had churches and schools. This was up in the north of Haiti, not where New Life for Haiti works today. But they had churches and schools up there, and he just invited us to come to kind of see the work. I'm sure they were trying to interest us in supporting it and our church in supporting it and all that kind of thing. And Linda and I, we'd never really been anywhere in the world. And so we thought sounded kind of adventurous. Sure, we would go. I did a little bit of reading about Haiti. We went on this first trip, and we really experienced two things. One was we found the people to be delightful, and we found the poverty to be overwhelming to take in. I remember driving through Port-au-Prince the first day I was in Haiti and seeing people living under 3 sticks in a cardboard box and just thinking, how is this an hour and a half off the Florida coast, right? Completely overwhelming. And so then from that first trip, we felt like we have to participate. We have to do something. We have to be a part of this somehow to make a difference. And so we were kind of hooked up with that organization in the beginning. And every year for the next few years, our church, LifeSpring Church, would send a team down. And they might paint a school, or one time we helped build a hospital or work on a clinic. They would do some project for a week. The classic kind of short-term missions trip. And it was good. And we did it once a year, and I think our young church at that point felt like this was just a beautiful thing to engage in.
Sure.
But then at some point, we felt like it wasn't enough. We felt like we weren't really making a big enough difference. We had become good friends with a missionary couple, Steve and Jolene Moore, who you know. And Steve and Jolene moved around the country a little bit. We kind of followed them, and wherever they went, we helped with projects. But we kind of this is what it was. We started to feel like we want to pick one place and make a difference there, and really know those people, and find out what does their village need, or their villages, what does that area need. And so we pitched that to Steve and Jolene. We said, what if we picked one place? So together with them, we started looking for a place, and this was the birth of the New Life for Haiti idea. In fact, it was funny because at the time I remember saying, well, we're going to have to organize our own thing, right, if we're going to go somewhere different in the country. And I remember somebody saying to me at the time, you can't just start your own mission organization.
You can't do that. There's nothing like someone telling you you can't do that.
And of course, in typical Fran Lehman style, I was like, I thought to myself, well, somebody started every mission organization, so
everything has a
beginning, right?
Right.
And so we had been working up in the north of the country. We ended up way out at the end of the southern peninsula, following this road out along the peninsula, along the Grand Anse River, and discovering what we could discover there.
So you get to the Grand Anse River Valley, and what do you find there? You described what landing in Port-au-Prince was like, but how is the Grand Anse River Valley different?
It's rural, so you're talking small villages, biggest ones being a few thousand people, And the main villages are along the river, And I would say the biggest difference is that in the city you have kind of these poor pockets. In the rural area, almost everybody is roughly equally poor, you know, living in kind of dirt floor huts, getting their water from the river, bathing in the river, washing their clothes in the river. And, you know, we always say, you know, if you're looking for the neediest place in Haiti, throw a rock in any direction, right? Because there's so much need. But when we went to the when we traveled I remember the first week we traveled the Grand Anse River Valley from village to village, just a handful of us, and I was overwhelmed by how hard life was for people. How, you know, it was obvious that like there was no medical care, the schools were ragged. If kids even could go to school, parents were lucky if they could feed their kids once a day.
Yeah.
No access to clean water. And I remember just thinking like, oh my gosh, you could work here for 1,000 years. And would you be able to really, you know, make a difference? So it was, you know.
So the needs are immense.
Yeah.
So what are some of the first things that New Life for Haiti decided to try to tackle?
Sort of a funny story there, because one of the things we saw was this need for schools, because there were some schools operating, but they were operating in pretty ramshackle structures, literally sometimes like posts made out of trees and a thatch roof and no walls, right? And I thought, we need to build schools, but there was nowhere for Steve and Jolene, our missionaries at the time, to live, or nowhere to operate out in those villages. They were living in Jeremy, which is a bigger city, 45 minutes to an hour away. They had rented a place there. So I wanted to build schools, and they said, we have to build a house first. We have to have a place to operate out of. And we kind of had a fight about it.
Would have been a rough commute.
Right. We kind of had a fight about it. I was like, no, we're raising this money to, you know.
Right, because you want to dig right in.
Yeah, but they were right. And we built Caibo Rivier, which is in Creole, as you know, is the house by the river. And that became their home for as long as they were still in Haiti, and our base of operations. Eventually, some of our Haitian staff lived there. But then we raised money to build a school. And of course, this was building schools for Haitian schools that were already in existence. And we saw the first primary need as they need a better building, right, to operate out of. And we did other things. Eventually, we did medical clinics, and we did some agricultural programs, and we did you remember we did the clean water programs with bucket filters, which even the villages up in the mountain could take a bucket, and a family could have a bucket filter, and they could go haul their water and pour it through a filter to get rid of the contaminants. We did all kinds of things. And eventually one of the big shifts probably a huge shift, if you look at which we'll talk about that eventually, where New Life for Haiti is today, was that we started to look at the educational scene, because we had built like 6 or 7 buildings for existing schools. But as we spent time at those schools, we saw that the education was very rote, that there were a lot of inconsistencies, that the teaching often wasn't consistent or creative. And so we started to say to ourselves, do we need to do something about the quality of education, which was kind of where you entered the story.
Yes.
Because you came on your first Haiti trip. And why don't you talk about kind of what you saw and what you started to think and feel about the educational situation in the valley?
Yeah, so my first trip to Haiti was part of the child sponsorship program, you know, to take photos of the kids and gather information for kids that were coming into the program. And so that gave me the opportunity to go around to all these different schools and get updated photos of the kids,
because that's where we would do the photos.
Right, and I loved that
Yeah.
because I was a teacher at the time, and that was sort of something that I was naturally good at. And so I enjoyed that trip immensely. And Haiti got inside my heart at that trip, and it's never left. But there was something that I was a little unsettled about. And I remember coming back from the trip, and we were over at your house at a barbecue Memorial Day weekend, and you asked me how the trip was. And I had that moment where I thought, do I just give him the nice answer?
Do I tell him what he wants to hear, how great we're doing?
which we, we were, New
Which
Life
we
for
were,
Haiti was doing
right.
great work, but there was something that I, as a teacher, was unsettled about. And that had to do with some of the things you've mentioned.
Yeah.
It had to do with the fact that there were 40 or 50 kids crammed into a classroom, and it was 95 degrees, and the teacher's resources consisted of a piece of chalk and a chalkboard, if they were lucky. And the kids had
no books or resources in a classroom.
no books,
Zero.
no maps, no
Not a map
globe.
of the world.
I think a lot of the children had never seen a map, wouldn't
Right.
really know what it was. And then, like you said, the most common method of teaching at that time in those schools, and still is today,
Yeah.
is rote memorization and sort of group recitation of lessons. And what I saw as a teacher is kids who were really struggling just to be there. First of all, it's hard to learn on an empty stomach.
Yeah.
But then once they got there, to sit through hours of lessons without interacting with each other or being engaged in doing something that is an engaging lesson,
Yeah.
just listening, basically sitting
Yeah.
and listening and maybe taking
Yeah.
some notes all day. So,
Yeah.
so I made that decision in that moment too. And I think you saw me falter for a second when you asked me that question. And so you started to talk about an experience you had, the experience with Shedley, and that kind of opened the door for the discussion about maybe we should start to look at a different way of doing things, and that eventually led to a whole new school concept, out of that was born the concept for the School of Hope.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about that in the next video, more in depth about all of that.
One of my favorite subjects.
Yeah.
But before we go to a break or end the video, can you talk a little bit about how all of this ministry and things that New Life for Haiti has accomplished over the years, how does that get paid for?
That's, we were chatting a little bit about this before the cameras started to roll. That is a story that I still have a hard time explaining, because how it gets paid for is just donors, period. Now, those donors have come in different sizes and shapes, right? People who have sponsored children through our child sponsorship program. And if you guys don't sponsor a child, we would love for you to do that. But people who sponsor a child, people who just donate monthly or do an occasional big donation, and we've had occasional big donors too over the years. But when I look back at what we have done, and we're going to talk about more what we've done over the years, but when I look back at what we've done over the years, especially because all this grew out of what was our very small church community, right? I mean, literally millions of dollars has come through New Life for Haiti, and that's the story I wanted to tell. So in our little church back then, when New Life for Haiti started, Marnie and her husband Michael were part of our eldership team, and that was the team that decided to really get serious. Right at that point where we really started, we went to the Grand Aunts and we said we're going to do something serious here, and our eldership team sat in your guys' living room, and we made this decision to get more serious about what we were doing in Haiti. And somebody in the group, and for the life of me I can't remember who it was, somebody on the team said, do we have any money to pursue this?
Logical question.
And the answer was, not a dime. And so the question was, well, how are we going to do it? And I said, I don't know, let's have a dinner, throw a party, get some friends and family together, and ask them to donate, which is what we started to do with all those New Life for Haiti galas that we had. And over the years, to watch all these buildings go up, School of Hope stuff, all that we'll talk about, Village of Hope stuff, all that we'll talk about that. At the same time, that group of people sustained a church community that's still thriving and going strong today. And then there were the occasional huge things that we had to respond to, like rebuilding homes after the Haiti earthquake decimated the country. Rebuilding homes and feeding people, literally feeding people and sustaining people after the hurricane came through. And the Grand Aunts was top dead center and just ripped through and wiped things out, and people didn't eat, and people didn't have a tarp or a roof over their head. To watch all this happen, to me, it's a miracle. And that's not to take away from all the people who donated. There's an old joke that says, God has all the money he needs. It's in the pockets of his people. and people have given, and it has happened. And to me, it's nothing short of a miracle. I can't really explain it. But it is. I can look back on this adventure of New Life for Haiti, all that's happened, and all the people who have made it happen. And I can say this is one of the most beautiful things that I have ever gotten to be a part of in my life.
And we'll be telling more of those stories.
And we'll be telling more of those stories. So that's about enough time for this one. So I hope you guys will tune in next time, and we'll tell some more great stories of New Life for Haiti.